Good evening. I am here for day 52, video number 52, and I am joined, as always, by my illustrious guests, Mr. George Washington and Mr. Abraham Lincoln. And I think I've got a story that's sort of fitting today. I know in recent times we all order all kinds of stuff online, and that comes through the mail, Amazon, and other packages, and probably even more so now with a lot of stores that are closed, a lot of businesses that the only way to get things from them is through ordering, and Amazon's business has even gotten even bigger here as the pandemic has set upon the country and the world. And so I want to go back to a story about RFD, Rural Free Delivery. In 1896, the government passed a bill that would allow for free delivery to rural homes. Basically, that was the idea. RFD, rural free delivery. There had been essentially urban mail delivery, city mail delivery since 1863, where they could basically use there was just mail delivered to their houses directly. They could buy from mail order catalogs, etc. But those who lived in rural areas, in the farming communities, in which still huge numbers of Americans lived a long ways away from cities, oftentimes still in the 1800s, for those people to get anything from the mail, they had to go miles, sometimes 10, 15, 20, 30 miles in a day in which there are no cars or anything. So they're going by foot or by horse or some other animal power to get to the post office, and they had no way of knowing if there would even be any mail for them. So their trips were obviously few and far between. Very difficult to get any of the luxuries that people in cities had access to. So what Congress decided to do in 1896 was pass the RFD, Rural Free Delivery, and they would eventually spend, by the early 1900s, they were spending, the government was spending somewhere in the neighborhood of $40 million a year. The hope mainly was that it would be much easier to get information out to people who lived out in the country, information that the government wanted to make sure that all the citizens knew about. They also wanted to make sure that not only did they get information easy, but that they had the same access and equal access to other things, newspapers, magazines. Newspapers and magazines, their subscriptions, millions of farmers and rural people who lived in rural areas subscribed almost immediately after RFD was passed in 1896 to different newspapers and magazines so they could hear about what's going on in the world and read those stories. But the biggest change really was in what they could get with the mail order catalogs. Catalogs, particularly Sears Roebuck and Company, was the biggie. Had a massive catalog that was sent out either once a year or twice a year, depending. It rotated a little bit, mainly twice a year by the time we got into the 1900s. And they would get these massive catalogs, and you could literally buy almost anything in these catalogs. I mean, you could buy guns, you could buy clothes, you could buy carriages, you could buy sewing machines. I mean, you could find almost anything that there was that was made, you could get delivered to your house, and you could get delivered for free. Eventually, even in the early 1900s, you could get a kit to build your own automobile delivered through the mail for free through Rural Free Delivery. So this was a huge program and allowed people in rural areas to get access to what would formerly would be only considered big city goods and luxuries that they never had before. So it really helped probably improve the lives of people living in urban areas. It also improved definitely their access to information, their connection to what was going on in the rest of the country, their knowledge about political things and whatever else was happening. There were also a couple of unintended things that happened with this. One of them negative, one of them positive. One of the negative things was that because they could now get basically anything delivered to town, to their house, their trips into town, wherever the local town was, however many miles it was away, became less frequent because they didn't need to go in to buy supplies from the local whatever, depending on whatever it was needed. That didn't mean they never went to town, but it did cost some business for those some of those small town businesses in wherever they were near in these rural communities. The positive effect was that the postman originally had a really hard time getting out to a lot of the houses because the roads were so poor, muddy, and sometimes almost impassable. And so the government spent millions and millions of dollars on improving the roads, mainly because of RFD, so that the postal workers could get out to these homes to get them whatever it was that they were delivering. And so the transportation routes throughout the country were massively improved because of RFD in the late 1800s and the early 1900s, sort of setting up the transportation system that we have today. Many of those roads that were improved, of course, in modern day have become paved roads and are have vastly improved our transportation system. So, anyways, that's the story for today. The story of RFD, the original way to purchase through get goods from other places through online catalogs. Excuse me, not online catalogs, mail order catalogs, which of course we've advanced today to online ordering and things like that. But people have been ordering goods from businesses far away for a very long time. So anyhow, hope you found that interesting. Hope everybody's having a great day. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.